Hey everybody, I'm Greg with the Fix My Bleep channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. So this is going to be an assembly video on the 12 by 14 foot pavilion by Yardistry. You see it right behind me. So let's get to the video, let's check it out. Alright, so once we get the foundation set up where you're going to put your 4 posts, then you're good to go ahead and start on your legs.
Make sure each corner is square and level, then attach the side beam. Assembly to post assemblies with 1 lag screw per corner.
Okay. Alright, so when assembling this, make sure that on all the sides everything is flush on the top. So we made the mistake of putting in one of the bolts in the lower slot instead of the upper slot. So we do have to disassemble the 2 sides and raise up the 2 sides so that everything is flush on the very top. So be sure and not make that mistake. So one thing I wanted to mention with these nuts is that you will want to take a hammer and tap these into the boards. It just makes life a lot easier when you go to assemble these. Alright, so next you'll want to start peeling the plastic off your sheets of steel. That's going to take a little bit of time, but fortunately it's coming off in great big strips. So get the plastic started, we'll lean it up against a tree, start peeling down. It should all come off in just one big sheet. Alright, so one thing worth a mention is I'm going to actually frame up some concrete forms for these legs, just because we tend to get some really high winds up here at the campsite. And that may be a consideration if in your location, if you do get really high winds, the top of this thing could eventually act like a great big sail. Alright, be sure and go through and tighten down all your bolts on the pavilion once you've gotten everything assembled. So that's one thing you will want to check. Okay, so next up you want to get all your rafter boards, get them laid out on as flat an area as you have available. And this is what I've started here. This is what it's going to look like when you get your rafter boards laid out. Now these are not screwed together yet, but just looking at the instructions, this is what it's supposed to look like when you put them together. So the other step you want to also keep in mind is you do want to pre-drill these boards, otherwise you can end up with some split lumber if you don't pre-drill these, and they do provide a drill bit. Alright, so one thing that's super important is on these rafters you'll have a middle board that's long and then you'll have a short board. And so let me show you on the finished rafter over here. It's really confusing in the instructions. So on this middle board you'll notice right here on the end it's notched out to go over the whole end right there. And if you follow it down, so you got the long board right here. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rafters, and then you've got like kind of a small notch right here because you're going to screw into the other rafter. And that's where you meet your short board right there and go out to the end of the roof. And so that's where it's a little confusing in the instructions. So you'll see that that short board has just a small notch to go over half a rafter right there. And again, that is your middle board or your middle rafter. Alright, so for this next part, you want to use your bolts to basically line up the wood and bring all this together. And you're not going to keep the bolts in here, and then you're going to use wood screws to pull these rafters all together right here on this part. Alright, so we're just laying our steel onto our rafters real quick here. You want to make sure that each sheet of steel overlaps the previous sheet just so you don't have any water leaking through. Also be sure and have 5/16 overhang at the bottom of your rafters and no overhang at the top. Otherwise your cap on the top will not fit right. Also on the metal that goes on your rafters, you want to start with your 3 smaller pieces and then you want to finish with your larger piece. But it is recommended to just kind of lay it out on the rafters, make sure everything is square, and be sure and have that 5/16 overhang at the bottom. Alright, something to note real quick, on the metal, you want to make sure that the holes in the ribs are on the bottom of your rafters. We just caught that, and somehow we put them all on there upside down, but we have not put screws in them yet, so just a super quick thing to note. roof lifter up onto the edge here. You good? Yep. Let's keep lifting her up. You can slide it over the wood. Try to slide it up to the gable. Okay, can you balance it there for a minute, Jess?
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it.
You got it?
Yep, look
Can
up.
I go get on the yellow ladder?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to get on the yellow ladder and try to lift it, and then I'll have you guys push it a little bit. Okay. Okay, set her down. Wow, look at that.
Okay, but we still need to go this way.
Alright, so next up you're going to want to be sure and get those bolts through that center beam. Just like this. A little bit closer look at that. Also, one thing to note, you may have to move your gable end beams a little bit. It does say that right in the manual. If you need to, you can adjust those and slide them one way or another to get your roof to fit just right. Okay, once you get your roof on, you want to make sure you get all your rafter braces up and get your bolts through your rafter braces. Do not tighten those. And then once you've got all the screws in your rafter braces and your roof squared, and then go ahead and tighten all these bolts on your rafter braces. So there's a quick look at the rafters and the top gable there. That center support does bolt together. And you'll run your bolts up through that once you get the two roofs mated up there on the top. Don't stress if you have any dings or anything with some hammers from getting everything lined up, because your fascia is going to totally cover it. Alright, next is your truss assembly. Just get a nice flat surface, put your plates on here, get them centered, and then just screw them all together. Alright, this is what your trusses should look like after you get them all up there and get them squared and level. Put all your brackets on the edges there. Put all your screws in. And then you should be done with your outdoor pavilion. Okay, this is what your finished 12 by 14 foot pavilion should look like when it's all completed. The front look, rafters and everything all done, and here is a look from the side with the rafters and everything up on your 12 by 14 foot pavilion. Alright, so thanks for joining me today. Hopefully this video is really helpful for you. Please be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Also leave a comment. Check out these other videos I've got going on, and I'll catch you guys later.